All right, let's call this Facilities Committee meeting to order. First order of business is roll call. And it appears everybody is present. So noted. Moving on to approval of the minutes from our April 26th meeting. They should all be in the packet. Second. Motion made by Don, seconded by Tim, Supervisor Tim and Supervisor Don. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Minutes are approved. Okay, public comment. Do we have any public comment or any letters for public comment?
No public comment, no letters that I have seen.
All right, items placed at the request of the chair, none so. Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
oh, yes, sir.
I would like to request to move up the consideration for action taken by the committee, the 24/7 telecom seeking easement at Russian Slough. Just a matter of time for, I have Brad from 24/7 telecom that is on with us on Zoom. He has a commitment that is way on this evening, so if we could get through his first and see if you have any questions.
So at this time, we will move G, item B, up to the next item unless I hear any opposition at this point. All right, let's discuss the 24/7 telecom.
Hey, what are those wet papers?
Excuse me, sorry.
I'll start out by letting you know I was contacted by Brad here from 24/7 telecom, and they are requesting an easement to run on fiber optic through Russian Slough and bore under Red Cedar River to a property on the north side of the river to feed much of the northern part of Towner Township. I guess I can let Brad do some talking on it, let you know exactly what's involved, and you guys can ask him any questions.
Sure. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you giving me the chance to appear before you and talk about what we're trying to do here. As Scott alluded, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. As Scott alluded to, we are looking to cross the Red Cedar River in the area of the Russian Slough Park to get up to the Tainter. I guess it'd be the east Tainter part of Tainter Township to try to get broadband service to the area. Basically, you're just looking to see the requirements you folks would have to do something like that, and easement permit or whatever questions you may have. It would be basically I believe, Scott, you had the construction sheets in their packets, so I could look at them real quickly with you folks if you have them.
Let's see, did I send out
Yes, it was in the packet.
the packet with
Yeah.
the map on there, or two pages? Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So I'll note that this is preliminary. We haven't secured the easement on the other side of the river yet either with a private landowner. So it could actually change, but the best point for us to get across would be from the Russian Slough Park there. So if it that wouldn't happen, then we might have to abandon this part of the particular option. I guess I'll just leave it at that. So yes, what we'll be doing is basically coming in with a fiber optic cable that would follow the entrance to the park, and we'd get up to kind of that northernmost tip there, find a suitable spot to try to put the drilling machine in to bore under the river and come up on the other side on the lot of that property owner. The total length of the bore is about projected to be about 1,350 feet. And then the cable, of course, would be pulled through that to get up to that side. Again, it's a pretty good sized cable. It's 288 fibers. We'd be looking to use that to feed the residents in that area, as well as a cabinet that would feed even more folks to the north. So the only thing that you guys would note, or the county would notice, or would be in the park, is we'd ask for a couple of warning signs along the trail, which there shouldn't be any digging in there anyway, I assume, and a vault up at the point where the directional drill would begin, which would be a surface level box, and there'd be nothing above the ground, just a warning marker there that would point to where it is, and we'd have access to it at that point. So the cable would be 36 inches deep minimum, unless we ran into some rock or something in there and had to make some adjustments, but that's the goal depth, if not deeper. And anything that would be damaged would be seeded over and cleaned up, repaired properly per whatever specs you guys prefer for that park. Generally, it's just, raking it out, black dirt and grass seed. But if there's anything in particular that's needed, we would certainly accommodate that. So that's about really the gist of it. Very preliminary, but we'd be asking for easement or permit or whatever you folks would be willing to do to let us cross at that point.
Question?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
You said that it's 36 inches deep.
Yep.
Correct in that understanding?
That's correct. Minimum.
All right. And then what you're looking for is an easement?
Well, we're looking for permission. So whatever form that takes from the county is what we'd be looking for. The one thing we would need with that permission is the ability to go in and repair it if something happened, ingress, egress stuff. But I mean, if it's just a simple like utility permit or something that the county would do for highways or something, that would be sufficient for us.
Okay. I noticed that from the looks of the preliminary mapping,
Mhm.
that it goes under the river in two different spots here. Am I thinking that correctly?
Yeah, the way it is laid out or drawn like that it does give you that, unless it just it is a little weird, I'll give you that, but it kind of depends where we can find a friendly, if you will, to get us through the other side. We're looking for the shortest path possible, but yeah, we're basically just trying to get under the river.
Okay. And then you don't have an easement yet on that property?
We do not. I am currently talking with one of the residents over there, and we're kind of a little bit of chicken and egg with this side and that type of thing. Both kind of have to come together to make it work. If that particular landowner doesn't want it to happen, we would pursue some of the others there, but we have reached out to others and there hasn't been a ton of interest so far. So but this is actually pretty important for us to get across at this point. The other options are, the feasibility is not very good. One of them would have been crossing the bridge at County D up there on Northern Tainer, and the highway commissioners doesn't really want us to attach to the bridge, and the cost of doing that is very prohibitive as well. Not to mention we don't really want to be on it in the first place.
Okay.
The other alternative is go all the way up and around one of the roads.
Since we're dealing with the river, are there DNR permits that have been gotten to do this, or where are they involved with this?
Well, that's where we will pursue probably the next step. I'll get with our engineering company and verify that if there is any DNR permits, we take care of them. Generally, for boring rivers and streams, as long as it's a directional bore, they don't require a permit. This may be a different case, but we will definitely look into that.
Okay, I don't know what's the depth of the river there?
That's a great question. I'm not sure either.
Okay, so we'll be there, so just so that I'm clear about this, you will be not laying this cable on the bottom of the river, but it'll be under the river then, correct?
Correct. It will be under the river in a duct and at least 3 feet under the bottom of the river. They'll be out there. What they do is they run this directional drill across, and they can guide it with very high precision. As they go across, the contractor will be out there with a boat and their little wand thing, and keep an eye on the head, and they can know exactly where the depth is and do different things to make sure it's placed where it's supposed to be.
All right, and then how long would this take?
How long would this take? That's a great question, because obviously it's something like this. It's a significant bore, and it could be unsuccessful completely. We may not know until we try, but it could take, a few days to a couple of weeks if they have to go in, if they hit some rock or something, back out, try again. We gotta have to figure out the point where we would abandon that if we can't get through. It's kind of tough to gauge on something like this.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate your answers.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Supervisor Score.
Where would you start boring at? At where the red line is, or would you go closer to the river?
Okay, so you can see where the on page 3 or the second page in that was given to you, there is a blue line that comes up and gets to an address bubble kind of near the northern part, where it turns to more like a I guess I'll say a tube or cylinder. That's about the point where it would start in there. I mean, it's all really a bit unknown right now until we actually get permission to go in and kind of scope out maybe the best spot. But I know our engineering team was in there just to give it a preliminary look, and that's where he picked for now. I mean, it's not set in stone unless there's something particular someone would want one way or the other.
Yes, Don, go ahead.
Are the kind of the blue-green line, is that what we're looking at?
I believe so.
Okay.
My
Yeah.
map here is a little bit.
I was just curious, like going across the river, it looks like you're really going a long ways underwater.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go directly across because there's that land you can't use that land or something. I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean it's privately owned. So this is one of the landowners that has agreed to talk with us for now. And this could change based on whatever negotiations happen with those landowners. Agreed, straight across the river, shortest path is what we want. But this shows obviously what's proposed at the moment based on what we know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you be going 3 feet below the actual river bottom, or not 3 foot below the silt hill end?
We try to get below the silt and get down to the hard ground, for lack of a better term, but definitely want to be a fair amount under the river bed itself.
Just in case they ever dredged it or something, would that be an issue?
I don't think so. I mean, we've never really ran into that before. We've recently bored the Chipper River by Caryville. We've bored the Red Cedar in Menominee, down by the Red Cedar Trail, and the sewer plant down there. Just it's never been a big deal, I guess. But I think the concern would be there, I guess, if something would happen.
Does something like this take some kind of environmental assessment, or is it? Because
Um,
it's all underground, it doesn't really affect.
No, generally not. I mean, we abide by all the permitting, what we need to do for the permitting entities and stuff. And again, we'll check into this one for the DNR based on its just the scope of it, of course. But generally, no, nothing in that respect.
Thanks.
You bet.
Yes.
Have you done this before? Do you have any
Yes.
bodies of water that you have done?
Yes, many times. We've done the Chippewa River by Caryville, the Red Cedar down by the city sewer plant are the most recent ones. We also did the Red Cedar down by Irvington. All were successful. I know the one by Irvington down there that ran into a little bit more a tougher rock. Took them a little bit longer, but they got through. So yeah, it's nothing these contractors haven't done before or haven't been doing for years. So they're well equipped to do it. It gets costly, don't get me wrong, but they can certainly do it.
Well, I see them go through town and they got more obstacles to go through there. I know that.
Yeah, that's for sure. All
Yeah.
the other utilities and everything is definitely more of a difficult obstacle as well.
Scott, what do you have any feedback on it?
I don't have any concerns about this if it was okayed. Russian Slough Park is basically a road down to the river. Some backwaters there, and putting in a fiber optic cable down alongside the road going down into the park. It's not going to be disruptive to anything. There isn't any green space, lawn space or anything like that in the park. It's just a gravel road that goes down into the park and right to the tree line. The trees and the woods are right up to it.
And to add to that a little bit, if we did do it, then we would stay to one side or the other of that road, or even, as far away as feasible based on, trees and other obstacles in the way. So, I mean, it certainly wouldn't be right down the middle of the road or anything like that.
Is that a township road?
No, it's a private
It's a
drive.
private road?
Yeah. It's a private drive down to the park.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's not a township road.
It'd be considered, it's all county land, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of a dirt path, correct?
it is crushed rock. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the homeowners that would have an opportunity to get fiber optic would be very excited for this opportunity if we provided that.
Yeah, and as far as the project goes itself, I should back up. We were actually awarded a grant to do the township of Tanner, outside of the what they call the ineligible area, kind of that surrounds the properties right on the lake. So basically the rural part of the township, we will cover with this service. And again, the original plan definitely was not to do this, but as we've got farther along, we ran into obstacles with rock and other difficulties that just make this something that we definitely need to consider to get up there. And actually the best option we have, honestly, provided we can get the landowners on the other side to help us out.
We need a motion?
I was just kind of wondering what are we looking to do from this committee? Are we sending this? Are we making a motion to send this on the?
Exactly.
What's your thoughts, Nick, as far as?
I think the most appropriate mechanism for it would be an easement. So they have an easement to have the bobcats and the trucks and whatever in there, and then an easement to have the placement of the line, and then an easement that would extend for access in order to do maintenance. I mean, yeah, I think you know, a resolution of the county board approving that, would be required. So if the committee wishes to approve that, you could approve it tonight and then, I mean, at some point, I don't know if they're ready to do the work yet. They still have some ducks to line to get.
Agreed, yes. Absolutely, we do.
But if they do, I mean, they can report to landowners across the river that, you know, they do have permission to come in from the other side, and that has value. And we wouldn't draft the easement or bring it to the county board until it was certain that the line would be placed.
Right. I think from our perspective, just knowing that if it gets approved by the county board saying you would allow it, and then we would have that, you know, in our pocket to go, you know, explore the other side or get more, you know, information from landowners, then we'd come back to you with whatever permit or easement you preferred for that.
Should we make a recommendation to pass on to executive or county board to recommend an easement? Or,
Well,
I guess I'm not sure we're not really approving anything. We're not.
I think you can approve it in principle. I mean, I think if you think that, you know, there are no reasons to be concerned about it, that it won't detract from the public's use of the park, or the river, then I think you can approve it. But there's no, I don't see a real compelling reason to bring it to the county board though, until it's reduced into an easement, which would occur once all the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed and they're ready to come in and do it. We can get an easement and get it approved by the full county board. Does that make sense?
It does. I guess my question would be is there any reason to feel that if we vote on it here and say that it passes, that we recommend it, what's the chances that after they do all the work and it's all wrote up, that the county board is going to then probably pass it as well?
I guess my concern with going, you know, the full blown paperwork right away is if we, you know, can't get permission or all the ducks don't line up. I mean, from our perspective, I think if you can get, you know, maybe make a motion here, get it in the minutes, get it up to the county board, and if they're good with it in principle, then we definitely would move forward and get those paperwork and whatever you needed in line at that point. I think, and plus the fact that if we try to do it and we're unsuccessful and have to abandon it, then we don't need anything anyway.
I could draft a resolution that approves it in principle, but not, you know, it doesn't grant the easement,
Sure.
approves it and directs that if the project reaches a point where it can be completed as planned here, or completed utilizing an easement through the which one is it? Russian Slough
Yep.
Park, that you know, we'll draft an easement and have it executed. I mean, I'll think of the words, all of them after the meeting, but
Does anyone want to make a motion to approve this in principle?
I'll be happy to make that motion that we approve the project in principle to be referred to the county board at such a time that that easements may be necessary to be granted to 24/7 so that they can finish. Oh, there we go. Probably a good idea. Sorry.
his request is to have the county board at least consider it so that as Supervisor Rogers noted, if this committee approves it and it doesn't go to the county board until, say, August, because that's how
Yeah,
long it takes to get.
Yeah.
right.
And the county board says no. Then they're kind of back to square one again. And so
Yeah,
his request is that the county board at least consider it at this point, not actually grant the easement, but direct that if it can be done, the easement would be prepared and executed and recorded in accordance with the law.
Yeah,
And-
that's what I said.
Okay. Yeah, second on what next?
all right. Well, thank you. Yeah, that sounds good to me. That would help us.
I'll second it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important that it goes to the county board so that telecom knows that at least the whole county board is somewhat in favor of it.
And then he's got a feather in his hat too, so that he can
Yeah.
come
right.
to the landowners and say,
Mhm.
hey,
Right.
County said this is okay.
Right.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Oh, go ahead, Supervisor. Scott.
Well, I took a better look at the map of Tanner Township and it looks like that is the best spot to cross. Because there's a river going through Colfax, there's a river going north and
Yep.
that looks like the best spot. Okay.
Agreed. Thank you. We do have some facilities on the west side of Tainer Lake over there, but just the terrain to get to that northeast portion is very difficult and would take a lot of extra funds.
No rims on the.
Okay, thank you for your input. Any other discussion?
No.
All in favor, say. Yes, sir.
I see that they put them on telephone poles. Is that a possibility for that?
Some companies do it. We do not. We do not have any equipment or anything to maintain or install the fiber optics on poles. And it would be very concerning for us in a weather event that it's just more susceptible than if it's buried. 100% of what we do is buried, and that's what we definitely prefer. It's safest that way. Again, having the equipment like bucket trucks and things like that, we just don't have at our disposal. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Can I ask what is the next general board meeting scheduled for this month or next month or what's
June 21st.
June 21st? Okay. So would this move to be considered at the June 21st meeting?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will make a note and plan on appearing at that meeting as well. Either Zoom or in person, hopefully in person. And Scott, I'm sure I'll be in touch with you prior to that.
Yes. Sounds good.
Okay. Well, again, thank you. I really appreciate you guys considering this and moving it forward. It will be if everything comes together, it'll be very helpful for the whole project and the whole community. So do appreciate it.
All right, thank you for your time.
You too. Have a great night.
Thanks, Brad. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's go back to F, staff and recreation reports. Fair and Fair Board.
Okay, good evening. We have the open class information available now for people to sign up for that. That's ready to go. And I don't know if I said, but we are adding an open class heifer show for exhibitors. We're generating a lot of interest. We have a lot of interest in people attending. So hopefully that works out and the ones that have contacted us and are interested in coming, hopefully they come and we'll have that barn plumb full of animals this year. So that's a good thing. Scott got the fair office, or his staff got the fair office ready to go to today, I believe. They turned the water on and so we can start meeting there and move in some stuff. to prepare. It's not that far away. It kind of snuck up when it was such a cool spring, but anyway. And I did want to mention that, as you know, my dad was really involved with the fair and he passed away last summer. So, just before the fair, and our flag actually broke last year. The last day of the fair, the pole actually snapped and broke, which was just on the side of the building. It was just a small flag. So, I would like to put a flagpole, a regular one, in the ground that you can run a flag up, in memory of my dad, in front of the fair office and it would be more visible than across the grounds if I talked to Scott about it a little bit and he thought his staff would have time to do that if we find one and get it purchased. I'll probably have Scott do
Yeah.
the purchasing just because he knows how heavy it should be and stuff. I don't want to just go to like Walmart or Fleet Farm and buy I want one that lasts a little bit longer, but not cost an arm and a leg either. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and make sure that was okay with you guys to add a flagpole at the rec park in front of the fair office there. It would be on right by the front, in that little grass patch by the front door. So if he's still okay with installing that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, so if I have your blessing for that, we'll move forward with that now that it's nice. So other than that, I don't have a lot. So
Is that something that the county's purchasing?
they'll purchase and I'll pay for it.
Oh, you
It's,
pay for it?
yes, because it's in memory of my dad. So I'll
Okay,
purchase it.
That
And
was
Yeah.
I thought that, I just wanted to clarify that.
yeah,
So will you have a little plaque or something like that down? at the
you could
bottom?
probably put a plaque at the bottom and we actually, when my mom passed, we actually had 2 benches that we purchased and we use those in the exhibit hall right now. They're wooden and stuff, but I don't know, I was talking to my brother and sister and we might spring for just a bench so that somebody, another place for people to sit and rest or whatever and put it there. Grandiose plans would be nice to have a garden there, but then somebody's got to take care of it, like a flower garden and a seating area, but it's hard when we're not there all year long and all summer. So I remember I tried doing a flower bed there once before and it was like really dry and I was running every day to water the flowers and stuff. So for right now, we're going to do the flagpole and maybe we can always put a wooden bench there too for some people to sit. So yeah, but that's all I have. If anybody has any questions and if you're okay with that.
Do we need a motion?
Motion or?
One heard.
We need-
Now we gotta think about this. I'll make a motion if I may. And I'll make a motion if I may to approve the installation of a flagpole in honor of Gordy Gottliebson. Okay, to be put on right by the what's the name of the building there? The fair office.
A second.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We probably didn't have it as an action item, so we probably,
It's under my word,
okay,
All right,
maybe.
moving on, or does that conclude your report? Okay. Moving on to facilities and park.
All right, I would like to move down to energy and bring on Abrina to give a report. What she has for us. She has told me that it is quite involved report, so we're gonna do a report here that she has, and if she needs to come back at a future meetings to give more information, she is willing to do that. So I'll turn it to you, Abrina, to give us what you have for tonight.
Awesome, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so I can do my PowerPoint presentation. I just want to make sure everyone will have access to a screen that they can see the presentation on.
We have a large screen in our room, so if you're sharing, I can see if we can get that up there for you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I will go ahead and
If any members of the committee want to have it on their computer, you just have to log into the Zoom meeting and it'll
Yeah.
appear on your computer.
sorry. Well, actually, can you hear that audio in the background?
No, all we can hear is you.
Okay. Mm, 1 second, if you could just, I'm just gonna reload this. See if I can get it to work.
Is she able to share her screen?
I do have audio that goes along with the presentation. So we're gonna try to get that to work.
I think she has to click share sound when she shares the screen.
Okay, you have to click share sound when you share the screen.
Okay.
I've got it here on mine.
It looks like it says the host has disabled screen sharing.
Oh, well, let's see if.
Dan.
Go to participant.
Yeah, got it.
Make her a co-
Oh, sure. I just made you a co-host.
Oh, great. Okay.
Thanks.
Let's see here. Share. Share audio.
ability.
It's starting to share.
Okay, great. Let's see. Hopefully the audio works. Let me know if you don't hear the audio on this next slide here. But essentially, I will be presenting on my capstone project, which involves a green plan for Dunn County using energy to make our county more sustainable. If you have any questions during my presentation, please feel free to throw those in the chat and I can answer them afterwards.
This presentation will cover an overview of my research, steps to help Dunn County reach their goals, and a conclusion with next steps.
Okay, just curious if everyone was able to hear the audio on that slide.
Yes, we could hear that.
Okay, great.
Dunn County Board approved a resolution to achieve carbon-free operations by 2050, following the City of Menominee Council's example. Menominee City has developed an energy action plan to enhance its energy efficiency and renewable energy power. This research aims to discover energy efficiency and renewable energy options for Dunn County's buildings, operations, based on the literature review and benchmarking analysis. This research is important because carbon emissions have significant impacts on the environment, public health, and the economy. While carbon-free operations can bring multiple benefits to Dunn County, This project will use building energy bills to establish a baseline for energy consumption and prioritize improvements that will have high impact and be cost effective. This project will also estimate future energy consumption and CO2 emissions and measure and report GHG emissions for the county. This paper contributes to the county's goal of reducing energy consumption, achieving carbon neutrality, and implementing 100% renewable energy by 2050. A review of this research will include background information and an overview of previous research, information from my capstone research paper, including information from the City of Menominee Sustainability Plan and Energy Star's guidelines for energy management, along with other current literature that relates to setting a foundation for this research. This presentation will also include information about buildings' utility bills and other data collected about Dunn County buildings. This data will tell a brief but essential story about Dunn County's energy use. Finally, this research will include recommendations for future operations, renewable energy, and an outline for a potential sustainability energy plan. My research focuses on 4 main county buildings. The newest is the Neighbors of Dunn County nursing home. And then it's the Government Center, the old nursing home, but was recently rebuilt and considered almost new. The Judicial Center, which is about 20 to 25 years old. And the Highway Building and Garage, which is older and located on Highway 12 East. All of these buildings can be seen from Highway 12 as you drive east out of Menominee. These are the main buildings and the ones I will be concentrating on. There are other minor buildings included in the county, but they won't be included at this time. My research aims to identify the most efficient and cost-effective energy solutions for Dunn County, Wisconsin facilities operations. By 2050, the goal is to achieve carbon-free operations through the use of renewable energy sources and energy efficiency measures. The 7 steps to a successful energy management plan are making a commitment, assessing performance, setting goals, creating an action plan, implementing the action plan, evaluating progress, and recognizing achievements. Here's a potential timeline for achieving carbon-neutral free facility operations by 2050 in Dunn County, Wisconsin. In 2023, form a committee to develop an energy plan for Dunn County. Also in 2023, continue benchmarking energy use in county buildings. In 2024, develop and implement energy efficiency measures. Also in 2024, develop communication strategies to engage stakeholders. In 2025, evaluate project and adjust plan as needed. By 2050, the county should be able to achieve carbon-free facility operations. Step 1 is committing to continuous improvement by setting goals. For the county's case, it's reaching carbon neutral facility operations by 2050. Then, it's identifying areas for improvement, which is what my research is achieving. The last step for step 1 is gathering feedback from stakeholders such as yourselves. Energy Star Guidelines for Energy Management recommends forming an energy team to save energy. The team should consider having a representative from each operational area that significantly affects energy use. This could include members on this committee. The team should have a leader. An energy director can lead the team and decide on possible team members. Tracking performance, measuring and tracking energy performance, and communicating energy management with employees and other stakeholders. This will be done through the Portfolio Manager benchmarking tool. And then download some resources. Energy Star Portfolio Manager and the Guidelines for Energy Management have tons of resources such as energy tracking, energy efficiency improvements, and a matrix to grade energy efficiency currently in buildings. These resources can be a valuable tool in energy management. The key responsibilities of an energy director are coordinating and directing the overall energy program, acting as a point of contact for senior management, increasing the visibility of energy management within the organization, drafting an energy policy, assessing the potential value of improvement energy management. Creating an energy policy. Dunn County should have an energy policy. This is a policy that states an objective, establishes accountability, ensures continuous improvement, and promotes goals. Energy policies are essential for the success of organizations as they provide an objective, accountability, continuous improvement, and motivation to reach goals. Here's an example of an energy policy for Dunn County. Introduction. The Facilities Committee of Dunn County recognizes the importance of energy efficiency and sustainability. We are committed to fighting climate change through identifying superior energy efficiency solutions and developing an energy efficiency program focused on continuous improvement for energy performance. The goal of this policy is to reduce energy consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, and save on operating costs for the county. Objectives. The objectives for this energy policy are to establish energy management as a core value in Dunn County's buildings operations, to reduce energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions through cost-effective measures, to improve energy efficiency within our buildings and operations, to improve a comprehensive energy management plan in compliance with the Energy Star Guidelines for Energy Management, and to encourage and educate employees, building occupants, and the community about energy conservation. The scope of this policy can include applying to all county-owned buildings and operations, including but not limited to administrative offices, courthouses, facilities, and public work facilities. Key elements of this policy include energy management program, energy management performance monitoring, identifying high-impact cost improvements, implementing energy conservation measures, staff training, and a review and continuous improvement for the energy management plan. In conclusion, this energy policy is designed to establish a comprehensive energy management program for Dunn County. By implementing this policy, we aim to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, enhance energy efficiency and renewable power, and achieve our carbon-free electricity goal by 2050. The Energy Director will oversee the successful implementation of this policy and ensure continuous improvement. The success of this program depends on the cooperation and participation of all employees, building occupants, and community members. Step 2. Assessing performance. Data collection and management, baselining and benchmarking, and analysis and evaluation. When collecting data for energy use analysis and goal setting, it's important to determine the appropriate level of detail, considering the purpose of the data and the level of detail needed to meet that purpose. In this case, we are only focusing on 4 out of the many county buildings. Account for all energy sources, identifying and tracking all energy sources used by the facility. For this case, we will be tracking electricity and natural gas use, documenting all energy uses, recording all energy uses for the facilities. This is being done through the portfolio manager provided by Energy Star, and then collecting facility and operational data. Data about facility operations is collected, such as building's size, occupancy, and operating hours. Let's dive into each building's benchmarking information. This graph shows the energy performance of the nursing home buildings in terms of their site's energy use intensity, or EUI, in BKTTU per square foot per year. The graph shows the median EUI for each building type based on the Energy Star portfolio manager's data. The graph reveals that most of the buildings have a lower EUI than the median, indicating that they are more energy efficient than the average building of their type. This graph reveals that most of the buildings have a higher EUI than the median, suggesting that they have room for improvement in their energy performance operations. The graph also shows that the source EUIs are higher at the site EUIs for all the buildings, reflecting the energy loss that occurs during generation, transmission, and distribution of energy from the source to the site. Source energy use means the total amount of raw fuel required to operate your property, in this case the government center, including losses that take place during generation and distribution of energy. Source EUI, as covered before, is the source energy use divided by the property square foot. The Judicial Center tells a similar story, that there is room for improvement in energy performance at this location. You can also tell that this building has high energy costs. This can be contributed to from the data center that's located in the building, the jail, and other factors. As you can see, throughout the year and years energy data is collected, depending on the time of year, there's an increase and decrease in natural gas use. But as you can tell, it slightly has increased over time. Our last building is the highway building and garage. As you can see, there is also room for improvement at this building. However, energy cost trends have stayed relatively the same for this building, and its use is fairly consistent. Energy Portfolio Manager can be a great resource for qualitative and quantitative reviews of energy consumption analysis. You can use this program to develop use profiles, compare performance, assess financial impacts, and identify data gaps. Qualitative and quantitative reviews are essential for understanding energy consumption and identifying areas for improvement. By developing profiles for each building, comparing performance, and assessing financial impacts, and identifying data gaps, Dunn County can make an informed decision on how to reduce energy costs and improve efficiency. Dunn County could also partner with Energy Star. That way, they can establish a clear and measurable objective, setting goals for the organization based on the culture and priorities. They can provide the authority for personnel to implement the energy management plan. They can also help maintain continuous improvement in the energy management process. And they have great resources that link energy goals to overall financial and environmental goals. By following these steps, organizations can create a successful partnership with Energy Star and achieve their energy goals. The energy team can provide yearly reports to Dunn County leadership. This includes reports on energy efficiency, possible renewable energy projects, auditing plug load equipment, optimizing heating and cooling systems, and reviewing benchmarking data and doing energy audits. Energy efficiency and renewable energy sources should be prioritized for the yearly report to the city and county leadership. In this slide, I'll go over all the different areas that Dunn County could improve energy efficiency in their operations. Engineering, designing and implementing energy efficiency systems and processes. Purchasing, acquiring energy efficiency products and services. Operations and maintenance, monitoring and maintaining energy efficient systems and processes. Buildings and facilities management, management of energy efficiency buildings and facilities, environmental health and safety, ensuring a safe and sustainable use of energy practices, corporate real estate and leasing, leasing energy efficiency properties and spaces, construction management, constructing energy efficiency buildings and facilities, contractors and suppliers, engaging with contractors and suppliers of energy efficiency products and services, and utilities, managing energy efficient utilities such as electricity, water, gas, etc. Here's some tips to keep Dunn County Facilities Committee motivated and create a culture of longevity. Stating an objective, clearly defining the goal and objectives of the project to ensure everyone is on the same page. Establishing accountability, identifying who's responsible for each task and ensuring they are held accountable for their work. Ensuring continuous improvement, doing regular reviews of progress and making adjustments as needed to meet goals. And promoting goals, encouraging team members to strive for excellence and reach their goals. By following these steps, Dunn County can ensure that their goal of carbon-free by 2050 project is successfully implemented and meets its objectives. The county will have to have specific goals for energy management in different areas. There can be goals identified for different organizational levels that should be considering when setting performance goals. understanding the importance of organization-wide goals and communicating energy management success, facilitating and exploring how the facility-level goals support the broader organization, examining when it is useful to establish goals for specific process lines and equipment, analyzing why it is important to establish appropriate and realistic targets, dates for goals, and investigate examples of factors that may shape an organization's long-term goals. Here's some strategies for promoting energy goals through competition, recognition, bonuses, and environmentally responsible attitudes. These are 6 ways in which Dunn County can motivate its employees to be more energy efficient. Use scorecards and other tools to compare energy performance of similar facilities and foster a sense of competition among employees. Highlight and reward accomplishments for individuals, departments, and facilities that meet or exceed energy goals. Offer cash bonuses or other rewards to employees and teams that meet or exceed energy targets. Use environmental messages to promote environmental and social responsibility among employees. Use financial messages to promote a sense of fiduciary responsibility among employees, and tie employee performance standards to energy goals to encourage participation and accountability. Here are 10 strategies for improving building energy efficiency that Dunn County can use right now. Install energy efficiency lighting. Switching to LEDs is a great choice. Install programmable thermostats. This will allow you to set specific temperatures for different times of the day, which can help reduce heating and cooling costs. Install energy efficiency windows. By upgrading windows to double or triple panes, a building can reduce energy loss through windows by up to 50%. Improve insulation. You can save up to 20% on heating and cooling costs by improving insulation in walls, loft areas, and attics. Upgrade those HVAC systems. Upgrading to a new HVAC system can reduce energy consumption by up to 40%. Upgrade building control systems. By investing in automated systems that measure energy use and control HVAC, lighting, and other systems, a building can achieve substantial energy savings. Enhance natural light. Increasing natural light and access to views can help reduce the need for artificial lighting and promote productivity. Retrofit building envelopes. Retrofitting the building envelope can help increase energy efficiency by adding extra insulation and sealing air gaps. Increase the use of renewable energy. By installing solar panels, wind turbines, or other renewable energy systems, they can help the buildings become more energy reliant. Encourage energy conservation and behaviors. Promoting energy conscious attitudes and habits among building occupants can help energy consumption lower and without physical upgrades. Here are different types of renewable energy that the county could utilize: solar energy, wind energy, hydropower, and geothermal energy. Renewable energy sources are an important part of our future, providing clean and sustainable energy for generations to come. Here's a plan to help Dunn County achieve carbon neutrality. Establish a green team. This consists of representatives from every department within the county buildings to work on a climate action plan. Conduct an energy audit. You can partner with a local organization such as Xcel Energy to conduct an energy audit for all county building facilities, to assess energy use and identify key areas for improvement. Develop a climate action plan. Based on the findings from the energy audit, develop a comprehensive climate action plan that outlines specific goals and strategies required to achieve carbon neutrality. Set energy conservation targets. Work with all county personnel to set targets for energy conservation, water recycling and reduction, waste reduction within the county building operations. Electrify buildings. Explore opportunities to transition all county buildings to electricity-based power alternatives. Invest in renewable energy. Deploy renewable energy solutions such as solar, wind turbines to supply electricity to the county building operations. Green procurement. Ban the procurement of new fossil fuel powered equipment, moving to electric or hybrid alternatives such as vehicles, and leverage intelligent building design systems that optimize energy efficiency, reduce internal energy utilization, and associated greenhouse gas emissions. Education and training. Establish an education and training program with the purchase of renewable energy certificates and industry standard renewable workforce training on equipment, structure evaluations, installation, and operations. Build public awareness and community engagement. Raise public awareness and community engagement by running campaigns to keep people informed on the county building's ongoing efforts towards their carbon-free target. Implement and integrate communication plans that highlight success and promote best practices. Finally, measure, monitor, and report progress. Measuring and monitoring progress through the Climate Action Plan in real time, reporting regularly to stakeholders, and implementing corrective actions when required to track progress to achieve the 2050 goal. Here are some ideas for financing energy efficiency projects in Dunn County, Wisconsin. Establish a revolving loan fund specifically for energy efficiency projects in Dunn County. Offer tax credits or rebates for businesses and households that implement energy efficiency measures. Encourage utility companies to offer incentives for customers who reduce energy costs and consumption, and partner with local banks and credit unions for low-interest loans for energy efficiency programs and projects. By implementing these ideas, Dunn County can create a more sustainable future by financing energy efficiency projects. In conclusion, achieving a carbon-free Dunn County by 2050 is possible. This means launching a green initiative campaign, investing in renewable energy infrastructure and technologies, reducing emissions and minimizing energy consumption, continue to improve operations of facilities, and finally, achieving carbon-free building operations by 2050. Thank you.
Alrighty, that is my presentation. If we have time, I will open it up to any questions. And I would also, if we have time, be willing to show you the work that I've done in the portfolio manager for benchmarking all of the buildings as well.
So I had a question. Is that okay?
Yes.
Abrina, thank you for the presentation. And all the work you did. So are you leaving kind of that portfolio management so that we can continue to monitor that progress? And how much work does it take to, keep track so that we know that we're reducing?
Yes, absolutely. So the portfolio manager has like a general login, but the ownership can absolutely be transferred from person to person. I went ahead and what I did is I gave Excel Energy permission to upload the utility bills for each of the buildings. And then that only connected the most recent utility bills. So then I went back and entered in all the old ones. However, the data is automatically pulled into the software every, on a monthly or like quarterly basis. So it automatically uploads into the software. And the software is really easy to use once you understand it. There's tons of different training documents that are out there. And really, the portfolio manager does a great job of providing live links and definitions on all of the stuff in the program as well. That's one of the reasons I decided to use that benchmarking software for the county. So yeah, and there can be other possibilities to build on the benchmarking. So if you wanted to add your water and trash, you could also add that. Reports are really easily pulled from the software, as well as the addition of challenge, I think, with the data that was presented was the fact that there was, the really hard to be the energy use. The energy use over COVID was really low. And then you obviously see the increase, but that doesn't necessarily tell an accurate story. I think the biggest thing that popped out to me was the judicial center has they have a really big energy bill. And of course, so does, the building you're in right now has a high energy bill. But the neighbors of Dunn County, not surprisingly, is actually doing really well compared to other buildings of its kind. And then the garage also isn't seeing a lot of heavy increase in energy use, but the other two buildings, the government center and the judicial center, are seeing this slight increase in energy use and cost. But again, that data is kind of skewed by COVID. Each building has a different baseline year based on the utility bills I could get. Some utility bills go back as far as 2016, but there's a few months missing. So we can include, any data after the missing data, but I couldn't include the data before that because the portfolio manager will create an error message if you have any gaps in your data, because then it can't run its reports. Hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, I was just wondering if we wanted to attack one building at a time, which building would we look at to gain the most, you might say, free or low-hanging fruit?
Yeah, I would say that's going to be the judicial center. That's probably the building with the oldest everything in it. And it's also the one with the highest utility bills. So for example, I mean, as far as the water use goes in that building, you could definitely set something up on the roof to have like solar heated water for the jail there, and then updating like the lighting, but also the computers and the data center in that building. I think that's what's most responsible for the high energy costs is, you know, having really efficient data centers because they take up a ton of energy.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have one question. Abrina, you had mentioned something about an energy audit. Do you have information about that, and have they been conducted on our buildings?
So the energy audit would actually have to be conducted by more of a professional. I have done a plug load study for the University of Wisconsin Stout, and I did compile as much information on your buildings as I could, such as like where, you know, computers and refrigerators are located. But Excel Energy actually has a great program for doing energy audits, and you can the county could partner with Excel Energy to have one of their professionals come in and do an official energy audit. Those are going to be people who have the proper equipment to do that audit, and will be able to give you, you know, I think your best results. I don't think me individually going through each one of your buildings is going to provide you with the best results. And I think that's where Excel Energy could be a really useful partner for the county.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. And just seeing if I can, I'm just going to quickly bring up the portfolio manager, because I think that was probably where I spent most of my time for this project. Yeah, the Energy Star website has tons of different resources there. What you'll see here, this is the main dashboard. It says that there are 12 properties. That's because some of the properties had multiple like small buildings attached to them, and then each building had its own meters as well. But there's the 4 main ones right here. And then I also connected the ice arena as well. That was not included in this report, but it is technically being benchmarked. Let's dive into one of these buildings and take a look at the neighbors. So when you click on the buildings, it will bring up each building's individual dashboard, and it's still loading here. So this is going to tell you some basic information on energy use. So the baseline year for the neighbors is going to be 2018, and that's going to vary depending on the building. And then you have, you know, a more recent energy comparison. This is really customizable. You can change which report is shown. So as you can see, you can also add water and waste to this, and you can definitely do it by source energy use as well. So I think that is a great feature. If we go into the energy tab, it does provide a simple graph on energy use. So if you wanted to look at specific details of this building, you could. Obviously, the red is natural gas, which if you noticed in my report, the buildings are using mostly natural gas. compared to the electricity use, it's, very high. And then it has breakdown per meter and then the location name, right? So here's all the different buildings and then the most recent energy bill for each building. So some of these are like a little bit behind, as you can see, but we just have to make sure we are updating those. And they do update on like weird times. It's all dependent on the Excel energy giving us that data. So sometimes it takes longer for them to give us that data. But for the most part, they will stay updated automatically. I know I've been working on this project a year and they have been updating the data comes in occasionally. Now, the nice part about this is if there's ever a new building added, you can add meters, you can export the data to Excel, which is a nice feature if you wanted to download annual totals. What else is here? So this gives some details on, the building's different, like the square foot and the occupancy. Then you go into the goals section, and this is where you can actually set targets. So, for example, the one target we have set here is the Energy Star score, and that's set for a target of 75, which is basically 100% renewable energy. I know it's not 100%, but the 100 score buildings are like insanely crazy stuff they've got going on there. So there's all different kinds of stuff you can do. For example, you could work with Excel Energy and get certifications or Energy Star. There's different checklists that you can build, which is a nice feature. And those are based off of the green building guidelines or sustainable building guidelines. So that's also possible after a team is built. You can go through that really simply. I really love this program. I think it works really great. And then there's also the reporting feature, which is really nice because you can have a bunch of different reports created. The only thing is when I try to make the reports for these buildings, as you notice, the data doesn't go back very far. So a lot of the reports require like 2 to 5 years of electricity data, which just isn't quite here yet for some of these buildings. So it might take a few years to actually get a better image of the electricity use. As you can tell, for a total, the energy cost looks like it's gone down compared to what it previously was. But I think this data is definitely skewed by COVID and other factors. So the county will definitely have to keep an eye on the benchmarking data, but it is one of those more low-hanging fruit compared to, for example, just prioritizing energy efficiency projects. Yeah, hopefully eventually the buildings will qualify for an Energy Star score. I couldn't enter enough information for the buildings to meet that requirement because there's a lot to it, but in the future that could definitely be a possibility. That shows all the different separate buildings included. And yeah, that was getting the Excel to share data with Portfolio Manager was I mean, maybe the most complicated part of it all. As you can see, there's lots of sharing notifications going on because we have to give Excel permission to connect to each meter and then each property. So you can see who has access to what. Basically, the only people who have access is whoever logs into this and then Excel. Like I said before to Scott, I would be happy to come back on a monthly basis and help out with the planning process, help write policy, help do basically anything the committee needs help with. From my end, as soon as my report is graded, I will also email a copy of that over. Right now, it's some 72 pages. So there's a ton of information, a lot more detail than my presentation went into. But that will include really specific recommendations and some different options for the county. Any more questions?
I was just wondering, I'm not much of a computer person. How do we access some of this stuff?
Yeah, so I think the first step is if you go to like a browser and you just type in Energy Star Portfolio Manager, that's going to bring you to, well, there's the login page, but if you click here on this second link, where is it? Not that link, one down. This should be it. It will actually lead you to, yes, here it is. So this page, also found from the home, commercial buildings, and benchmarking. This is like this small area where you could log on, and I can, obviously that login will be shared, but this gives a brief overview of kind of like what is Portfolio Manager and what is it used for. And then there's also a huge list of resources, training, all kinds of stuff that's on this website, which is where I got a lot of my information from. So yeah, there's lots of different resources and training here. Also, you can ask them for help via their help center and talk to someone if you want to talk to someone about what's going on your portfolio manager, if there are any, issues that are arising. But yeah, this is the main website, and I can just throw this link also in the chat so you have instant access to it. And then I will also be able to share that login. I think that login is used with Scott's email. But like I said, the ownership can be transferred as well from person to person if needed in the future. I also think this program and the research I've done could definitely be, a baseline for other research in the future, having, maybe a student position or someone that, keeps track of the portfolio manager. It could also be done by the quote unquote energy director, which is basically just any role or any person can fill the role of being like the lead. But I really think it would be nice for the committee or the county to have a special energy team. Like I said, I'd be happy to participate on that team and come on a monthly basis to go over, you know, a workshop every month to get us to have, you know, a solid plan. In my research, I have lots of examples and possibilities for the county. Like I shared the example policy, but at the end of the day, it's probably up to this committee's discretion or a more general county committee discussion as to what exactly they want in there. I can provide examples, but I can't straight out provide, you know, a sustainability energy plan. Yeah, so any other questions?
I have a question. So will this data continue to get sent from Excel to the portfolio manager as we move forward, or is this going to stop when your report's done?
No, the data is automatically pulled into the portfolio manager from Excel. So that will happen automatically. And I can kind of show you what that data actually looks like in this program. So it does take, you know, you're not going to get your electricity data for the month of April on June 1st. It's not that fast, but it definitely loads in there automatically. And as you can see down here, that's kind of where you can see the property data administrator, which is technically me right now, or Scott, and then Excel Energy has access. But we can go into, let's look at, oh, if it lets me click, the electricity for the government center. So here it gives you basic meter information. The base year for this one is, oh, wrong meter. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong building. This is the back government center back building, which doesn't actually have any use right now. This is probably a better building. There's only one here. So you can select the, you know, whether you want the natural gas or electricity. And then this shows all the years. So this is a really simple layout, and you can see when it was last updated by Excel. And this shows your cost, start and end date, and then the usage based on kilowatt hours. So that's also provided. And this can be downloaded to Excel. I think that's a really nice feature as well, because you can use Excel to do all kinds of great things with the data in the future. If you wanted to see, well, there's an example of kind of what I've done with the highway building, is just creating a simple graph. But yeah, I would have to edit this a little bit to get it to work. But the other example I have is here. And then there's all different kinds of, graphs that you can automatically have Excel pull in, and they'll kind of show you where they're getting that data from. So that's a great visualization. And I can always provide those, when I come monthly, if there's something you want to see. But it's hard to tell exactly with such the short window of only 2019 until in this case 2023. That still doesn't quite leave enough information with COVID in between the two to give us a clear picture, but at least the data is in there now and will be able to be built up. All right. Any other questions?
Questions? It doesn't look like it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. And like I said, once my report is graded, I will email that over to Scott and he can share that with everyone so you can read over it in detail. And then I would be happy to, of course, attend future meetings to answer questions on that. Or, even do some little workshops or anything with the committee.
Sounds good. And thank you very much for all the work you've put into this. It's pretty amazing what you've done.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for all your patience. It's been a whirlwind of a year for me. All right. Well, I'm going to head out, but I hope everyone has a great rest of their evening, and I will be in contact soon. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sabrina.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
You want to continue, Scott?
Yes, so,
Because
Oh, go ahead.
Megan in the city is using the portfolio to monitor city energy and she kind of likes it. So,
sure.
so I think it's a good tool. I don't have a clue how to do it.
I'll look more into it. I have been on there when Sabrina and I worked together. Of course, that was at the beginning when there was less data on there. Now I can go back on there and look at more of the data and pull reports also. So I'll probably have something for the next meeting. And then I'll be in touch with Sabrina also, if she wants to come and answer any questions, if she gets her report over to me, the paper copy, we'll see how that goes and invite her back.
I think it's a really good opportunity to use this, especially to all of a sudden, lots of times you don't know that you've had an energy use spike.
Yeah.
And this, I think, would be really something to say, oh, we're way off our trend line here. Why? That kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, that'll definitely help.
As well as we continue to accumulate data, which can only be beneficial.
Yes, I agree. So continuing with my report, with operations. Staff have been working hard on yard cleanup, spruce up and mowing of the buildings in the parks. And getting all that going on. We had a lot of brush to clean up in parks, so the guys did a lot of that. I did hire a new facilities worker, waiting on a start date for him, but I do have someone hired to replace the one that left us a couple months ago. I started the recruiting process for a custodian at Judicial Center. That hopefully get some good candidates for that and get someone hired. There's a staff report in in your packet on, I gotta find it here. On the pump house that is between Judicial Center and Government Center here. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this.
Is that on top of that hill? Yes.
So
Hill or-
where it is there's a pump house on the hill that is between the Government Center and Judicial Center. As you're traveling on Highway 12 and 29 out past the buildings, if you look to that hill, you can see it up there on the side of the hill. That's where the pump house is. So there was a recent social media post. Someone had gone there and posted pictures on social media saying, that they've always been interested in this place and they finally went there and took pictures and posted them. So they did that. It drew attention to the pump house there and that there is an existing pump there that possibly has an existing well that has not been abandoned. So that was brought to my attention by the City of Menominee Public Works Director, questioning about it. Started doing some checking into it. There's no documentation showing that there's a well there through the state. Probably because that well is so old, it used to feed, if there is a well there, it fed the old asylum building, the old Dunn County Hospital that sat behind this building. I know that there was a well down below the hill. That one was properly abandoned and filled with bentonite back in the nineties, late nineties. That well was thought to feed the cistern that is up on top of the hill. The cistern is a concrete tank, so it gravity fed to the old hospital building. And it was thought that the pump up in that pump house pumped water from that well up to there. I had a plumber come out, take a look with me, and he's quite sure that there is a well there. So upon further investigation, we're gonna find out what exactly is there. If it's a well, how deep, then we'll have costs on what it's gonna take to abandon it. And at the same time, when this takes place, I would recommend that we go ahead with demolishing the pump house and the cistern that is up there, as well as abandoning the well properly. So that significantly reduces any liability that the county has from people having interest in going exploring. There is a cover on the cistern that if someone did go up there and was able to open that up and fell inside of there, it would be a huge liability risk for Dunn County. So once I find out more about this from our plumber, we'll have cost estimates on that and I'll bring it back and report to you guys what is going on there. Then I have a staff report on the outbuildings, the old boiler room and electrical carpenter shop out back. As you know, the future has been discussed. I had in the capital improvements or demolition of these buildings. And that was taken out of the capital improvements, and then I believe so much a year was put into capital improvements for the future for demolition. Since then, County Clerk Andrew Mercel and myself met with some people that work at the Dunn County Historical Society. There was question of whether these buildings would have historic value to them. So we went out and took a tour of the buildings, looked at them, and these people from the Historical Society are going to look into grants that we could possibly get for restoration of these buildings. If that is an option of what the county decides to do, then it would be, say, a situation of the boiler room would need new windows put in it, new doors, as well as the old laundry building. the old boiler room building would need a roof put on it, and then something in between the two buildings out there, there's a flat roof area that would need to be addressed so that it would shed water. Then we could possibly use the building for a storage situation. And then what they suggested what we could do was have on the outside of the building, like on a window, have a QR code where somebody, if they came out there to tour the building or look at the building, they would have that QR code that they could scan that and find out history about the building. I wouldn't necessarily say that we would have people touring the inside of the building if we're going to make use of it ourselves. So we would turn it into probably storage building, storage space so that we can utilize the space. So that's where we're at on those buildings as far as exploring possibilities of what to do with them, as opposed to spending the money for demolition of them.
If I can ask, what's the square footage of these buildings?
I don't have a square footage on those buildings.
Okay,
right
just-
offhand. I don't right offhand have one.
Okay.
I could get it and report it back to you.
Well, we're just kind of curious. I mean, big enough to put a car or truck or not something that substantial.
Yes, so the laundry building and the boiler room building, are large enough that you could house a number of vehicles. In each one. The boiler room situation is that when you put boilers in a building, you put it below ground level so that if a boiler explodes, it's gonna take, the ground is gonna take the impact of it. So it's not blasting everything out. So the boiler room part of it is below ground level where the floor is. So you'd have to have a ramp coming down into it to do anything there. There's stairs coming through the front. We do have a ramp that we built a number of years ago through the back so that we were able to utilize the building when it was heated with the boilers in there. Then we were able to utilize it for a few things from coming in from the back. Now it's obviously not heated. There would be cold storage buildings. Because nothing is insulated, nothing's heated on those buildings. But they do work for the laundry room building. That there was a new roof put on that, and that building is being used for storing a number of things, some excess stuff for the neighbors and some of the excess surplus office furniture that we have here for the government buildings is stored out there. So it is valuable space for us to store some things.
Okay.
The carpenter electrical shop, that building is small enough, you wouldn't put anything of a vehicle in there. That's more, I don't even know what size, maybe 16 foot by 16 foot, maybe. It's a smaller building. It's not in great shape. That one has a hole through the roof that has been leaking. Not as good of a building to use, but we'll keep going and see what is found out as far as any grant possibilities for any type of restoration. Give the information to the county board or to the facilities committee and pass along and decide what the future of those buildings are. So I just wanted to report all that we met with them and went through that.
At the cost of that we had budgeted for tearing it down, it seems we can do a fair amount of repairs and still be a lot of money ahead. And maybe utilize it as cold storage.
Yes, that's kind of the theory of that, where it's going. I don't have exact cost estimates on what the demo would be. I could work with Highway, see if they would be able to do some of that work for us, if that was a situation. Otherwise, restoration, yeah. It looks like it may be cheaper to put a roof on the laundry part of it. And then it depends on if we can get grant stuff for restoration windows in there and stuff like that. So just exploring the possibilities right at this point to find free money. Yeah, that's always nice. Yes.
Thank you for that.
Sure. And then as far as going on to projects, the last of the door installations in this building have been completed upstairs, so that part is all done and ready to go. The Judicial Center generator project bid was awarded to Simon Electric out of New Richmond as the low bid. I'm currently working with them as far as making the plans of how that replacement project would go, the steps that it's going to take, ways to supply temporary power while they're changing out the transfer switches, and then for the generator. So working on the details of that. There is a delay, of course, of getting generators. So they're saying it will probably be 40 some weeks out before that generator would be available. Chances are that project would not take place until the spring of 24. It would probably be in the spring would be a better time to change out the generator in between the heating and cooling season. So we'll keep you posted on that as we move forward on it.
So a little quicker than normal.
Yeah, they're out their ways, but the replacement John Deere 1575 mower has been ordered. We got a bid in on that, and that came in less than what was budgeted, so that was a good thing. So that's ordered. That probably won't get her till September, they're guessing. So at least it's in the works. With facilities fleet, I met with Enterprise and discussed our fleet lease situation. We're sitting really good on fleet vehicles, as right now we currently have low mileage fleet vehicles. So we're not paying out maintenance other than oil changes. And the fleets are running good. They're getting used every day. They're booked out every day. So people that need to use a car, they have to plan ahead. Otherwise, if they're waiting a week or a day or two to plan it, they're not going to get a fleet car to use. They'll be all booked up. So that's all going well. You guys got a copy of the financial reports sent out and through April. And that continues to look good. We're at a positive there yet. So everything is going good with the budget as far as the spending for this year. We haven't had any huge things going on, breakdowns or anything like that. So we'll keep moving forward that. If there's any questions, I can see if I can answer.
Must be doing a really good job.
I'm trying to do a good job with it. And energy to go along with Sabrina's report. I just wanted to report that Olson Solar is working on the design of a system for the neighbors of Dunn County buildings. I got all the information over to them for that. The one gal from there was over last week. Took some more pictures of the meters and stuff over at the neighbors, and then we discussed over here at the government center. And then the big challenge that she is finding is trying to find a place for the solar panels. Over at the neighbors, I know when we were working with Eagle Point, it was they placed solar panels out to the north of the buildings, past the pine trees out there, going out into the field that is behind there. That one is still a possibility. We did discuss something with the government center here that proves to be challenging because of the detention ponds that were put out back, and then the buildings and trees. And then there was a question of our large green space that is to the west of this building, between here and the neighbors. It's a rectangle area out there we just mow it. You know, the solar panels would be more visible, but it might be a possibility to put a good sized solar field out there to supply neighbors and possibly the government center here.
Mhm.
So they're looking into that. They're working on it and they'll get me more information. I'll report that as soon as I have information on it.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea, because it'd be good to so people from the highway can see the solar panels.
Yeah,
That'd be real good advertising, I think.
sure.
And you wouldn't have to mow all that. You get some,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, it's in the plans of turning that whole area into prairie grass. I'm working with
okay.
Chase up in Land and Water Conservation to put some areas in prairie grass around here. It'll cut down on the mowing and, that way it cuts down on the mowing, it gets it to natural state. It'd be a good spot then, if that's done, to put in solar panels over top of that.
Would you be utilizing any of that land that we can't do anything else with because of the airport zoning?
That would not at this point. I did suggest that possibility of getting to the point where you had a solar field between Judicial Center and Government Center, to tie in both buildings, and that would get into that area where the airport extends over.
Seems to me that we should try to focus on the land that we can't utilize for anything else instead of using up the premium square footage that we have where we could expand buildings or do building projects or highway projects or judicial projects on that property, because we're limited really with how much property we have that's buildable. The majority of it's all within the airport zoning.
You know, I guess, do we really know that, that they won't let us put solar panels in there because of reflection or something? We maybe need to check that out with
That I don't know
FFA
for
or
fact.
something, because, maybe it isn't a big objection. I don't know.
Yeah, that I don't know for a fact yet.
Yeah.
I still have to check into that with the city as far as the airport. The other factor that they look at for designing this is cost of it. Obviously, the further you put the field away from your electrical connection to the building, the more costly it is. So they're kind of looking at, the best possible place right at this moment. We'll see what they come up with for an idea for a design, and then we can work off of that and see if there's other places suggested for doing that. Like out in front of the neighbors, you go across the road and out in front of the neighbors, it goes down where there's I guess there's a ravine or where stormwater goes, and that's where the sewer from this building runs out through there too. But that area they're looking at is not level. They like to, with the solar panels too, they like to have a nice level area so that they set their panels and they're at the right angles and everything. That's kind of what I'm getting from them is trying to do an area like that.
Any possibility we're using the existing parking lot?
As far as putting them over the parking lot?
Yeah,
I think that possibility around here would probably be very costly. You would have something that would be covering the parking lot that would have to withstand all of the weight of the panels. Plus then you got to consider your snow load. And then you also consider the angle that the panels are on, with the snow sticking on the panels. There's a lot to be considered. I know Don brought it up about out in California doing that. This climate with our winters, I don't know that would be feasible. That most likely be very expensive. I'd gladly cover the parking lot if it was a decent price. We wouldn't have to plow the parking lot anymore, but
That's one thing.
yeah, that's one thing. That'd be great, but
I think the one site I sent, or it was, a school board and schools, and they put them where their parking lots because they had no other space. And then they serve the purpose of a shade also. And we don't have quite that much sun here, but But it would, you know, it's something to think about at least, but it would
Yeah.
probably cost more because you have those pretty high columns. You'd have to go up about 10, 15 feet, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Yeah.
I was gonna take some pictures. I was just come back from California and I saw that and I wanted to make everyone stop and go back so I could take some pictures. The one thing that I kind of noticed though was that would be a pain to snowplow them parking lots because there was so many posts
Yeah,
that you'd have to plow around.
you'd probably, the posts could probably, see our parking lot, isn't there a little,
Medium.
kind of an island there?
Mhm.
So you could maybe just put one post in. I don't know if you need, if you have more than that or not. Yeah, it would be probably, more expensive, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anyway, just an idea. That is everything for me.
All right, any questions for Scott? That we haven't asked him? Yes, go ahead, Supervisor Score.
Oh, you know, that one building you were talking about restorating for historic?
Yeah.
Did you take the asbestos out of that building?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, moving on to C, Corporate Council Staff Report, leasing of the transfer station.
Uh, well, a few months ago, I think before the end of the year, I had contacted an attorney who I thought could help me out in, well, I'll back up. I had determined at some point, probably in November or December, that it required a little more expertise to evaluate the potential risks and liabilities associated with selling or leasing the property. So I contacted an attorney and I didn't hear back from him for quite a long time. I thought he could provide assistance and he didn't. I mean, I just didn't hear back from him. So recently I contacted another attorney and this attorney is interested in doing the work, but has requested that they send a paralegal up here from, I don't know, Madison or Milwaukee to pour through files and records regarding the transfer station to make sure that they don't miss anything important. I think I need to talk with them again and make sure that, you know, I think we need to strike a balance between looking under every rock and, you know, coming up with every conceivable possibility. I would like to just receive a kind of I don't know, just in a nutshell, what the potential liabilities are and make some assumptions about, you know, if there's any soil sampling done, what is, you know, and the test results come out a certain way, what happens next and that kind of thing. So that's still kind of on hold and I apologize for that. Is that all for that item?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Moving on then to considerations of action to be taken. G.A. camping in the parks.
This is one that sneaked up on me. It seems to have been, if you recall, I don't know, several months ago, probably 8 or 9 months ago, I had brought in a kind of a draft of what a parks ordinance would look like. One of the projects that I shouldn't say one of the projects, a very, very large project that I work on often is to try to bring all of the county ordinances that are applicable. It's county law. It's like a statute, but it's adopted by the county instead of the state legislature. Bring them all into the county code. their ordinances, their county law, and if you wanted to find one right now, I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that you'd never be able to find it. I have, every year the county clerk publishes a book that contains all of the minutes and details of the county board proceedings for the previous year. Andrews told me the one for 2022 is going to be coming out shortly. A lot of the ordinances in that have been adopted by the county board and repealed and modified are contained in all of those books. In my office, I have, I think, 1967 through the current date. And unless you know what book you're looking for, it can be a very challenging thing to find, which ordinance you want. So we've got all these ordinances out there. And the reason that I haven't brought this forward is because I'm trying to include that and dozens and dozens of other little things, details. I talked with Scott about it, and he said there does appear to be a more urgent need for this particular regulation. And so I put this together. This really addresses hours and use, specifically camping and fires. This would not be codified. It would just be an ordinance on the books. It would be able to give the facilities director, I might have put manager in there. It would give the facilities director authority to or his or her designee to enforce, to issue citations or violation notices, and all law enforcement agencies within the county. And so it sets up that there are park hours. And it excludes Myron Park, which is the park over by Sand Creek, which the county leases to the village of Sand Creek, or the town, is it? The
Town of Sand Creek.
The town of Sand Creek. And they manage it as a campground. So it excludes Myron Park because that's quite a different kind of park than all the other parks and landings that the county owns. And then I've also excluded the rec park from this because that's subject to some current ongoing development work for regulating camping. We have a unique relationship with the Menominee Youth Hockey Association for control of the area and the events that are held there. And camping has turned out to be one of the things that isn't very well addressed. And so we've had some meetings to talk about how we'd like to proceed. So I've accepted Myron Park and the rec park out of this regulation. So hours would be during hours of darkness. No one's allowed to be in the park unless you're fishing. There's no hunting. I wouldn't anticipate anyone's going to be hunting in the park. If they are, it's going to be a start, but fishing is more the thing. So if you drive in to go fishing, or if you pull a boat in to go fishing, you could get there in pre-dawn hours, but otherwise nobody should be there. It prohibits camping. The exception is that the facilities there, I wrote manager there, that's where it is. So the facilities director would be authorized to issue camping permits to youth groups for educational purposes. So when we talked about this last year, I think it's the Boy Scouts or the Cub Scouts, they have a yearly get together there and they find value in it. And of course it's supporting scouting and educational opportunities that come with it. And so this has a provision here that the facilities director would be able to issue a permit for camping. No fires. And no overnight parking, except again for fishing. If someone's out, like at Northwest Landing, someone's out fishing walleyes with bobbers that have lights in them or whatever. And then penalties. This is something you may want to discuss a little more. I tried to make them reasonable, to be a deterrent but not unconscionable. So the range of penalty would be not less than $25 and not more than $200. And then it authorizes the corporation counsel to prosecute violations or to have an ordinance, or I'm sorry, a citation issued by either law enforcement or the facilities director or his or her designee. So, for example, someone was out to mow a lawn in the county park, and they noticed that there's an RV park there. They could issue a citation to the RV for parking there. Oh, and it also provides any vehicles that are in violation of the parking rules can be. Well, maybe I didn't put that in there. Parking, there it is. Yes, any vehicle in violation of the section may be towed from the park and stored at the owner's expense. So you can pick and choose the things that you want in there, soften them up or harden them up, however you'd like.
I was just thinking, with this, say, scout groups or youth groups, it'd be pretty hard to go on a scouting camp out without a fire. So I don't know how we'd rectify that.
When Scott and I talked, he said he didn't know if they had a fire or not.
Do they-
We don't have
They don't
fire
stay over,
rings.
they don't stay overnight then, or
They do camp there overnight,
they don't have a fire?
but I don't know of any fire there. They're the only places that have had fires is from campers that are there and they start a fire right there in the lawn.
Oh, in the lawn, okay.
Yeah, there aren't, to
Oh,
my
there aren't-
knowledge,
Oh, there aren't any, okay.
there aren't fire rings in any
Yeah.
of the parks. There aren't any designated, but that's something that we could address if we need to. Either by, having the facilities director authorized to give a fire permit in conjunction with the limited camping ability.
Do they stay overnight, these youth groups, or?
Yes, they do.
Oh, they do, okay.
Yeah.
Nick, I have a quick question regarding camping
Yes,
at the rec park for the racers. I know
Yes.
sometimes they stay overnight there.
this ordinance specifically excludes
that
the
go.
rec
Okay.
park. Yeah,
Not a problem.
What about, was it 22 Mile Park where the people that donated it camped there the first week of fishing?
That would be Thatcher Park,
Thatcher.
north of Connersville. And again, they normally contact me and I give them a permission letter
I
also.
would probably need to reword this somehow
Yeah.
to include that.
Yeah, so the family that donated Thatcher Park to Dunn County camps there annually the first weekend of opening fishing. And then they clean up the park.
Should just give it back to me. Have you been to Thatcher Park?
Go
I
ahead.
have.
You get so excited that you're this close to Reeve that you forget to look at it. It's- That and the white sand cliff.
Yeah.
There's a sand cliff along the county highway that's just as white as snow. Go ahead, Ann.
So just for my own purposes, so is it Myron with an O or Myron with an A? Cause I looked it up and it has two names on the website site.
So
Which is the,
It is actually both.
oh, it's-
So apparently the family that donated it was spelled with an A. And then some of the signage was put up with an O, and so it's both ways.
okay.
So I don't know which it's supposed to
What's
be.
legal?
Yeah.
I'll ask Jerry.
And for what
Jerry
it's
would
worth,
probably-
can I spill the beans on this or? The town has asked, apparently it was donated to the town and then deeded to the county. The town has initiated or undertaken asking the county to deed it back. Which would eliminate any concern that comes from it anyway. I mean, as a practical matter, it's been a town. You know, they manage it. When there was contamination in the well, they
Yeah, they funded the
all the
replacement of the
new
well.
well work that had to be done.
Mhm.
So
Pardon me?
Contamination because of what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was found to have, I can't remember.
Be high
what-
in nitrates.
Nitrates, yeah. So they had to redig.
Yeah, had to drill a
go
new well.
deeper or-
And they planned for that. The town of Sand Creek planned for it and had the money set aside. So they were
Yeah.
able to, I worked with them and the DNR. And they handled everything, but us as property owners, I had to work with them.
Yeah,
And the town of Sand Creek paid for everything.
anyway, they're gonna be, and that's something that Scott will be developing and bringing back, but we may not need to talk about Myron Park much. Who knows?
So then I'm
Yeah.
guessing section 3B would be the town, just as a typo, instead of village.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, town. Yep, you're right. Thank you.
So then I'm wondering as the penalty, because it costs $25 to camp. So should the penalty be a little higher? Otherwise, it's like, well, I might as well just stay in the park and pay the 25 minutes, like it's the same as going to the other park. I don't know.
And then half the time you'd get away with it anyway, so. So,
So I don't know if that should be higher.
yeah, that makes
Well,
sense, yeah.
It could be. Is there, if anyone's got a suggestion, I can put it in there. Yeah, I saw one county's ordinance said $3. I don't think it's been updated for a while, but
It's cheap camping.
yeah.
Well, you could put a fine box, that's $25 while they can camp. You know?
Right.
Pay your fine ahead of time.
Yes, because right now at 22-mile Ford, there's campers there now.
Oh, yeah.
There was last weekend. And then this week, the guys were up there and mowed and there were no campers there.
No, it was in the weekend then.
They'll probably be back.
I got a call last week about somebody camping up there from that there was some complaining. They want to know what the rules were yet, or what the rules were on
And
camping.
that's the one that's at MW and
Mhm.
Graham.
Maybe we could add to the section 4 on fires unless permitted by facilities with camping.
Right.
With camping permits or something.
That's, this is something we just got today and I don't know.
You've got mail. Yeah, I can add something in there.
And then you address the Thatcher Park with the people that donated it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reword the camping authority. Maybe just to allow the facilities director has authority to authorize camping. I probably would need to look at the deed that the county received Thatcher Park under in order to make sure that it says what it's asserted it says. But yeah, I mean, I can add something in there to kind of straighten that up. My intent in focusing in on youth groups for educational purposes was to eliminate the people who are interested in camping and know that if they ask, Scott has authority to say yes. And sometimes asking can take a long time and eventually no's turn into yes. Not that he's a pushover, but you know, my intent was
Right.
just to eliminate that pressure. So if you're not a youth group and you're not in for educational purposes. don't
Or if you
ask.
didn't donate the property in the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a way of phrasing it, but yeah, I can get that in. Is there any consensus about the penalty, minimum penalty is $25, not enough? 100?
Maybe 100.
Okay.
I would think then that'll eliminate that possibility at least.
And if they're in an RV, there would be a risk to them that it gets towed, which costs money, and then stored, which costs money.
Yes.
And you would have to post a sign saying no campers, no trailers.
No camping or fires, and vehicles, you know, can be towed.
And also I can post the park hours of.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you okay with the just, you know, the hours of darkness is all the parks are closed except for Myron and.
Yeah, I know, I think some of the parks, it is actually posted at some of them that it's between 11 PM and 6 AM or something like that.
Yeah,
the park
Caddy
is closed.
Woodlawn Park has been subject to a number of changes, and it primarily has to do with rambunctious youth coming and, you know, vandalism and partying and stuff. And so it just is during the hours of darkness, it's closed.
Mhm. And that
I
can,
think some had set hours, but
Mhm. Oh, yeah,
Smart ass. No.
so would you like me to make some changes to this and then bring it back to you at your next meeting?
I think that's would be fine.
Okay, that'll give you more of a chance to read through it and I'll have all these corrections made.
check out the legalese on that property then too.
Yeah, yeah, one thing I've learned is that when people tell you something says whatever, doesn't always say that.
I'll look in the documents I have in my office also.
Okay.
See
Yeah,
there's
if you have anything,
Yeah.
yeah, just refer to me.
Yep, definitely.
Do we want to have any additional discussion about the resolution in general? At this point, I'll just wait until next meeting. Didn't cover all the bases. We've had this, we've talked about it for a couple years now. And we seem to have kind of had a consensus. Now we do have new. You do have some new board or committee members and from that point, so. But it seems that we're kind of on a consensus is my thought moving forward. All right, we will put this back on the agenda for next month. And anything else from corporate counsel?
No,
Okay,
I can report to you, I do have a resolution drafted. I need to add a couple more details into it. It regards the concrete floor in the ag building.
Oh.
So you'll be seeing that at your county board meeting next month. Trying to stick with the direction that I received from Scott about the content of it. But it's a pretty basic verbiage. It's just the lease specifically prohibits it unless it's approved by the county board. So it'll go to the county board and then you may consider it collectively and make your decision.
and you did just say, my brain missed the beat, that you're putting in about the thing for the something to address putting up gates and pins
Yes,
and everything, and the concrete.
I still have to talk
usage.
with Deb about that. She's probably more up on the terminology of it, but yeah, sleeves or pockets to put gates up. And also it would also have language in it that says that, any whatever is installed can't interfere with the use of the facility by the county for its fare.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Then we don't have to amend it at the county
Right.
board meeting. Considerations or reports, resolutions, and ordinance to be recommended to the Dunn County Board by the Facilities Committee. Request to change use of CIP ARPA funds. Believe that is for you to address, Scott.
Yes, it is. So in 2023, there was a capital improvements project to construct a road and walk path from the government center to the judicial center around the hill. It was thought to be that this would be beneficial to staff driving from the buildings back and forth so that they didn't have to go on the Highway 29. As we explored that further, it was realized that the cost of that project outweighed the benefit that we would get. With a handful of staff that would probably benefit from that, it really didn't seem feasible to do it. So that project was X'd out. Or I guess I would say I would like to request to cancel that project. I would like to request that the ARPA funds, which were $500,000 earmarked for that road, to be used to install computer controlled lock system for swipe badges with card readers. So employees would use their county badge to enter county buildings. It would tighten up security on the buildings. Less keys out there. The key system with these buildings is quite old. There's been keys that have been lost, keys that have not been turned back in. So I think moving toward this reader system would tighten up security on all of our buildings. And we're looking at a lot of other security items we'd like to do on the buildings also to make employees more secure. Currently on the capital improvements for 2024, I had $80,000 budgeted for this project of the lock system. Since then, it's been discussion of doing the government center building, judicial center building, and then checking out the possibilities of also the neighbors. So I'm getting quotes on systems for all three buildings so that I have an idea where we're at. If we're gonna be at that 80,000 or above it, or where we're at there. And so that would be something in the future I'd report. And then also we discussed about using some of the money to upgrade our existing field road out back that goes across the field. There are employees that use that to go back and forth. Facilities employees go back and forth across that road. So I have Dustin and Isaac over at the highway department. They're looking into the cost of that to get me an estimate what that would cost to upgrade that. They're gonna look at seeing if there is a need for culverts to be put in and elevate it, because that road gets really muddy and soft in the spring. It's a field road that's just driving across dirt. Doesn't have a base in it or anything like that. So the water sits there, it gets soft, gets really muddy in the spring, you wouldn't be able to use it. So looking at that, and with that, I'm also exploring with the city of Menominee and the highway department the possibilities of a walk path in front of the government center and judicial center, and then down Stokey Parkway to hook up with the existing walk path the city has. We had a meeting on it, and there is money from the state if we were doing this in the right of way. The drawback of doing that with the state is by the time it all gets planned out and done, it's a number of years down the road. So Dustin and Dave Schofield from the city of Menominee suggested that we look at the possibilities of constructing this walk path with local with the highway department doing it instead of using all the state contractors to do it cheaper. Because working with the state doing it, it's still a 80-20. So we'd be on the hook for 20% of the cost. So their thoughts were is that if we could do it locally, that the cost would be lower than what that 20% would be if the state was involved with it. So they're looking at that. They're gonna get back to me as far as costs of that. But so right now, requesting that the project of the road behind the hill and the walk path be canceled out, and then dedicate ARPA funds that were for that project to go toward this lock system and some upgrade of the road that is going across the field.
Matt, do you need that in the form of a motion for the committee or not?
What's your thoughts, Nick?
You're amending the CI. the
Yeah,
capital
basically
improvement.
it's amending the CIP, the capital improvements.
Yeah, yeah. Cause the county boards has adopted the capital improvement plan, so it'll be an amendment to the plan.
Yeah.
That will make its way up. It would be a pretty low profile amendment, but.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we terminate the 2023 CIP walkway between the government center and the judicial center on the north side of the hill, and consider reallocating those dollars for lock systems on all county buildings, for specific county buildings, I should say.
No,
In lieu.
it was the road, I believe, that we were talking about, correct? Not the walkway,
It's the road and a walk path.
the road and the walk.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're terminating the main project for 500,000.
Yes.
And then reallocating the ARPA funds for the lock systems and walk path.
Lock system and upgrading the road across the field.
Yeah, correct. Field. Okay, so we're not gonna talk about the other walkway.
At this point, we're not
Okay.
including the walk path out in front.
Never mind.
That's something we'll address once we get costs on that and see if we can
Alright.
fit that in.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Further discussion? Yes.
I just had a hypothetical question. So how many solar panels could we get for $420,000? I mean, would be ARPA one-time funds that might be,
About $3-4 a watt,
what is it?
$3-4 a watt. And I don't know, how much money? 400,000?
And the poster is $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Just, put it in perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be good to use it for that.
Is that, I mean, can we reallocate it to a new request, or are we just we're requesting, we have a motion currently, but we're requesting to change the CIP request that is currently in the 24 CIP.
For 23.
The 20, it's for the 24.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
How much of this is ARPA funds? The whole thing?
500,000, yes.
500,000?
Yep.
We should, gee, it'd be nice to do something to freeze that a little bit, at least, otherwise somebody's gonna grab it.
So that money is not earmarked. If you pass this to earmark it for the lock system, money for the lock system and upgrading the road, then the extra money there, yes, is
It's free money, isn't it?
unless, was there a way to earmark it for possible future project? I don't know. I mean, that's how that would get put.
It has to be
I would
a
be-
project that is committed by the end of the year
By the end
and
of this year.
spent before the end of next year.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So we can't simply say we want to keep it for the future
Yeah,
unless we
that's
have a
true.
project we're gonna spend it on.
Right, a project would have to be planned out.
And the option, the capital improvements plan that was adopted by the county board it seems like a long time ago, last month or last week,
Last week.
included very high usage of ARPA funds and using some funds from the general fund. And so it's if there were additional funds that became available because of the change in the project, it would be likely to be used to decrease the amount that's taken from the general fund in order to get the 2024 capital improvements plan work accomplished. Without some further action by the board, of course.
Do you currently have a 24 CIP request on a project that we could request moved, or 25 that we could request moved up in place of the road? In addition to the locks? Then my thought is we're saving $500,000 by not doing that work, but we're spending it on what's already in the CIP plan. It's just we're moving that up so it happens sooner. I don't know if that makes sense, or
Well, from a security standpoint, that's always good.
sooner the better, and whether it's a heating program or a heating equipment or a generator or whatever it is that we already have in the system, maybe we should do that.
As you move things up, though, sometimes trading a pickup in before its useful life has been met, or, so you start to incur costs associated just with extra costs with just moving something up. But I'm not familiar enough with the facilities I don't have a capital improvement plan, so.
Yeah, I don't have anything really that for 24 as a request that,
I mean, are these just semantics? I mean, so we're moving the money, but if something comes up, I'm guessing ARPA funds could be used. Like, so if all of a sudden your plans for solar, it's like this amount,
mhm.
can we use the ARPA money? That, I mean, or do we have to have it
The ARPA money's gonna go back in the budget and they're gonna use it this year.
somehow? But yes.
We can put whatever request we have on the CIP for the following year.
Mhm.
It seemed to me that the people that were opposing it just because it wasn't being used and we were borrowing. So to say we're gonna take that for this project in the future may run into more challenges than.
Yes, I mean, we just put the money back into the pool. So we do our
We do our
security
due
and.
diligence, that we look good.
Well, you know,
So, go ahead.
one thing that I kind of like the idea of putting that pathway to the judicial center. And we did have that in the capital budget. So there'd be no reason not to keep that in there if we had some idea of the money. Because, you know, it's already been approved. We're in that $500,000, right? So we're taking that out and taking the road out too, basically, except improving a little bit.
Mhm.
So would there be some way we could keep the path in there and then refund the rest of it? You know, the money we save in developing the road. Because the path would be something that, you know, we know that these inmates of the jail do use the road all the time now. And so there's a real need for that because of safety and I think it's, so I don't know. That's just something to throw out there, I guess.
And also with the walk path going out in the front, like we discussed with the city of Menominee, the city of Menominee would partner with us on
Yeah.
the cost of that.
Mhm.
So that probably not a bad idea that if, you know, part of that ARPA dollars was directed toward funding that. Our portion of it.
We currently have a motion and a second on the floor, unless you want to amend your motion to include the walking path.
I'll ask Supervisor Score, would you be open to amendment?
Yes.
2 seconds, okay.
Then I would be happy to amend my motion to add okay, just so I'm clear here, the walking path in front of the neighbors and in front of
the government center.
government center and the judicial center. Okay. And to be shared with the city of Menominee also. The costs. Okay, good.
Technically, there's no such thing as a friendly amendment. So, unless any member of the committee objects, you can safely proceed. It's a small group, but if anyone wants it done by the book, it should be.
Proceed unless there's an objection.
Right. I think that's fine.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we've been here a long time. At this point, let's adjourn for the evening and set the next meeting for June 28th next month. Thank everybody. Thank you, everyone, for the extra effort and time you put in tonight.
You got a long list.
Oh, my gosh.
Are we adjourned?
We are adjourned.
All right.